All right, what's up, guys? What's up? We're back again for another streaming session. I really just wanted to hop on here real quick and just kind of give you all my game plans. Maybe just go over kind of today, my thoughts on it, like pre-market, what I saw, my trades for today, and then kind of just go over what to maybe expect for tomorrow. Set us, what I'm going to be looking at for sure tomorrow, to try and make some money and win, right? So that's exactly what we're gonna do. So let's get into it, guys. Or let me give it a minute for some people to show up. I think I definitely started a little bit early, but it's all good. I just wanted to hop on here and kind of get out the way. I know everyone be not showing up on a Tuesday afternoon, some of the slower afternoon days, but all good. Let's get at least 20 people on here real quick, and we'll get it going. So if you're tuning in, uh, retweet the stream, show some love, get comfortable, and we can lock in to this. So let's see what we can do here. All right. We need a few more people show up and we'll get it started here. Get it started. Let's take a look. I mean, right now we're seeing some green overnight here. Futures are green, holding up. We're still holding this uptrend on, higher time frames, or at least the hourly, right? You can see that we're still holding up pretty decently here. So, I mean, man, this is crazy. Also, that demand that we hit like Monday just held all the way for that 2400, ran all the way. That's absolutely insane right there. But yeah, we hit that gap down right Sunday night into Monday. Monday held a rocket. So pretty cool stuff there. Pretty cool stuff. All right, 20 people on. Let's do this. All right, let's get into it here. So let me go over just my trades and kind of what I was thinking pre-market and stuff like that today, right? So we saw a gap up, which was somewhat surprising, I think, right? Because we ran up pretty heavily yesterday off of Trump comments. We ran, and I wanted to see if we would end up blasting above like 609.36. So this was my kind of, you know, I would say play calls above, QQ, or if it holds, get that move above, and we did that. We blasted above 609.36 today, and we did run to that 610, 611. But the whole point here was very strange that we already hit that like pre-market overnight. That's where we kind of opened up in gap two, rejected it, ate pretty much the whole like kind of daily and hourly gap there, right there. And that's what they left us with at open. So at that point, I was like, all right, there's no gaps going up in here. If anything, there was a small one still left on the 15. And let me show you this real quick on QQQ. And this is important because this is actually my first trade that I ended up taking. I was going to assume that likely we're just going to, I would say, reject any type of push up kind of here at open, and come right back down. So these three candles right here is what we played. And you can see some of that gap still kind of open from overnight. Small one, it came really close. Again, right after open on that, 45, third 15-minute candle, but 45 minutes in, we almost came right down to it. That's where I was selling the puts down there, but I knew we would end up rejecting. We ended up slamming some puts as we rejected this zone again and ended up coming down. We ended up going the 604s, I believe, 604, 605s puts, knowing, we're at 607, 608, knowing we should come right down there in the money, and we did that. So as we're kind of there and we're up on the contracts, I was like, just take your money, because it's very possible that they're fighting it way too hard down here. It's very possible they're going to low volume kind of push this up into range and possibly run us up here. So be very careful, take your money, and at the same time, right, we saw a few names kind of breaking out. Google and Nvidia were the ones that I was saying pay attention to the most. This was another trade, right? We ended up going calls on Google, and the only real two trades today was QQ puts right there, after open there, and then Google calls that ended up working. It had a gap that it needed to fill almost near that 310 level, and anything above that 306.48, we got a decent little move there, and it worked out fine. This was just one of those days where I was like, man, you don't need to be too kind of, I don't know, keeping stops too tight. I think just letting things kind of breathe on the upside was definitely I would say the better RR of just sitting back on some longer dates and letting it do what it needs to do. And Nvidia was showing that same strength as well, except Nvidia was a little bit stronger here on kind of the move from 183 to 186, perfectly hitting our target there. And this was something I was also watching for as well. I was calling Nvidia out as well. This is something I wanted to play as well. I didn't, but I did call it out, and I tweeted yesterday, right, for all of you guys and everyone else, my targets for QQ, Nvidia, and Google, right. Google was the 308, Nvidia was the 185, 186 area, and then the QQ I had like hitting like 605 plus. Obviously, we blasted through that yesterday, but these ended up catching up and hitting, our targets up here. I still have that up there. So beautiful, hit that. Definitely some members banked off that as well. They went with that as well. So that was a good look, I would say. I like this. So far, we are still holding kind of like an uptrend on a lot of these names, a little bit of a downtrend breakout. So this is something that's going to be make or break going into CPI. And so, yeah, it's just CPI, right? What's going to happen with CPI? How's the market going to react? We'll see. We're really close to some of these, kind of breaking back out, or downtrend breaking, pushing back out. We'll see, right? I'm not going to press or do anything too crazy. It's really kind of a stick and move scenario here. We saw that AMD did a really good move at open as well, 202 to 206, and kind of just came right back down. There's one name, Microsoft was the kind of weaker name where it just dumped out. And, that maybe had a little bit of a bias on me today, where I was like, there's no way Q's going to keep kind of ripping here, past our target, which was that 610, 611 zone. And it did, right? It ran perfectly to 613 right up there. Why did it run to that 613 level right there? Let me tell you something. This is a very important level. Even though we are above that zone, it ran to 613. The reason why it hit me with like, a little bit of PTSD, not really PTSD, but it just kind of hit me like, I feel like I've been here before. Well, that's because we were here before, and we were just here. What was that, last Tuesday, last Wednesday? What was that, the 4th? I'm pretty sure that was last Wednesday. Last Wednesday, where we ran it up into this area and we tried getting that 613 where it hit overnight, and you can see it right there. Hit overnight there on that. And then we ended up selling off, of course. Well, we ended up opening up downward, and we pushed down. We knew puts would work, and we just pulled down in a range. Sure. But right back there, the thing is, and I was hyping this kind of area back up, last week, is because of this. Getting on the 4 hour here, we are like so close to a clean move to 617, 618, like right back to this kind of supply zone that we end up selling off. This is a clean move. There's not many orders stacked in between here. So if we can just open up above 613 or clear 613 early in the day, we will see an aggressive move to 617, 618. Calls will work. I'm waiting for it. But again, we're right back to here and we're rejecting it again. I don't really like that. It's how many times have we done this? If we look on the daily of just up, down in this same area, how many daily green candles do you see? But the fact that we're still just holding down is crazy. But again, we're right back to it. And I do love this. This time we are printing that 4 hour uptrend. Last time, or last Wednesday, we didn't. So technically we did. And I like how we printed it in that 4 hour candle, perfectly opened up and just dropped us. So usually anytime we see that, they run it right back up. We will see though. It's very strange that they are kind of, pushing it aggressively or confidently a little bit into CPI. I think the number is going to come in absolutely baked. I'm talking like a Subway cookie, just baked, and the market's going to love it, and we're going to push. That's what I would assume is going to happen, the way they're kind of, playing this out or hinting at it. Again, but if it does sell off, we'll be ready for whatever, just to play whatever direction, up or down. We have our targets. We have what we're ready to go for. Again, for me, upside, I need to see us above that 613, 18 level. I'm not saying you can't make money, slamming them dips and riding it out. That's kind of, what we did on some individual names so far this week, and, winning on that. But for SPY and QQ, for Q, I need to see that move past 613, 18, for that clean move to 615, 616, and 617, 618. Just, clean move through there. If we end up kind of rejecting probably 606, 607, just kind of this demand right here, we're going to come down to 601, 602, which is basically the 600 level. And if we're back to the 600 level, again, we need to hold that. And if we don't, things get pretty bearish, or at least, bulls kind of start getting, I would say, weaker around here, where, bears start stepping it up. I really like, downside under 600. That's where I flip bearish and I start to look for more puts, if anything, for a possible kind of move, but also be very weary of just fake outs, right? Monday was one of those where we gapped down and everyone was going crazy that we had a huge gap down. It wasn't even a huge gap down, and we ate the gap right back up and rocketed, especially with Trump, announcing, war almost over, whatever. It's you just got to kind of take it with a grain of salt and just kind of look at it. But for right now, we are still holding this uptrend for the week. We would need to break that 613 level for a weekly breakout. Last week, yeah, we would have to. It would be a pretty good weekly breakout, and I would be able to know that I'm going to bank on that heavily. So we'll see about that. Now, SPY, we're looking at SPY here. SPY a little bit weaker than Q here. SPY needs to hold above 680 for me to really, really get bullish here. Now, the hourly and all that opened up above 682 up here, and we just got reversed on. Anytime I've seen this where we open up above a zone like this and it fakes out and we end up pulling down, it always pushes us right back up. It's crazy that I've noticed that. So anytime it opens up above a zone and it dunks on us, it always pulls it right back or pushes it right back up the next day. So right now we're at 679, whatever. So we're right back kind of in this area. Let's see if we get a little bit of a squeeze action like this where we end up kind of pushing and doing something like that. Because if we do that, then it's going to be a decent move to 685, 688. And again, I can't get too bearish with SPY being this close to all-time highs. It's not, we're not super close to it, but we're not that far. And if we're, looking this on the hourly, this is starting to really, W shape and squeeze here for, that eventually, that push that's going to happen. So I don't know. I'm not getting too bearish here, but I do like this setup either way. If we end up losing like 674 here, this zone right here, if we end up losing kind of, today's lows, right? We end up losing today's lows, which was the overnight lows as well. We lose that, then we know we're going to drop to, 672, 669 area. And then from there, kind of go down from there, but there's a lot of support down there. So be very careful with that. I still see a move there. Probably not going to be my first or favorite name to turn to in this situation where I'll probably look to slam it or do whatever. But, there's definitely some good names, that, we can keep looking around and going for it. Oracle earnings smash out, pretty nice move there, up about $14. Good move out. Again, that also could be holding tech right now. That could be blasting tech a little bit after hours. So we have to also, keep that in account there. That could also be that. IWM, not too much going on with IWM, to be honest, but kind of just following the same kind of path, SPY, QQ, kind of holding out. No real gaps, nothing I'm kind of seeing on eyeing on that. So as far as anything right now, NVIDIA is technically on a weekly breakout, a fresh weekly breakout. So let's see if it can break through that 187 to run to 190, 191 plus. It is, showing the most kind of strength here on a price action. Same thing for Google. Let's kind of see what ends up happening there. Other than that, Amazon does look pretty good. It's coiling up here. Break above 215 here is going to run to 216, 217, 218, 219, right back to this area. And then from there, right, because we banked on this all last week, from there, we should see it try and attempt another daily gap fill right to that 226 area and up. So, I'm all right with playing, above 215 to 220, but I don't know if I want to play it above 219 until we get to that gap at 225, 226 for that daily gap move to 230. That's what I'm really more kind of looking at there. But it all depends. The market's going to have to be on our side for that. So we would have to see what they end up doing there. And yeah, but, staying green is the name of the game right now. And that's what you need to be doing, staying green right now. Yes, last week were some really good, swing plays where, we did see some continuation on, some of these names, at like a 2-day period, maybe 3-day period. And then after that, you got to be locking up those gains and kind of doing less or, going from there. But, definitely a really good week last week. We're off to a good week this week already. Posted my P&L and everything. I think it's one of my pinned tweets right now, weekly starting off really good. And that's just by being a little bit more patient. And that's kind of how I was being very patient this morning, but I could have been a little bit more patient. Because it was very clear that this, blast up happened, and I called it out for Q right when we opened up on that hourly. That, we don't need to take small gains here. We can just wait for the bigger move, which would have been that blast out, and, and just been fully prepared for that. So, that's also something, to keep in mind as well. Intel, nice like downtrend breakout, holding above that 146 today. I mean, again, I saw this. It opened up above, this yellow trend line. We blasted out from what is that, 45 ish, 45 and a half to 47.88. If you know Intel's contracts, you know that was they move. They're cheap and they move pretty well there. So especially something in the money, at the money, cheap, moving, good. That's good. Watching this for tomorrow, this doesn't look half bad at all, especially if you do something like this, right? It's the nearest level. Hold it up like this, a little bit of flagging. Next level up for Intel, 48-ish, 48.30. Doesn't look too bad. I don't even know why I didn't get the alert for this. I think I saw it and then took my eyes off it because maybe Q was doing the same thing. This had a little bit of front run on it. I think I'd opened some of the names are moving, some of them, but I didn't trust it because everything was like red and then it went green and then it went back red and then things just start mixing. And then I was like, I don't really want to be pressing upside here if we're just going to chop. And then finally, buyers really stepped in and started pushing it pretty well. So far, a little bit of a downtrend breakout. This daily gap is still sitting out here. I wouldn't be surprised if we see some type of an aggressive move kind of towards this and kind of go from there. But I do like this. It looks pretty good to me. I can even extend this out to about right there, which still looks really good. So let's keep an eye on this for maybe some Intel, continuation. Who knows? But as far as the strong names, NVIDIA, Google, I think was AMD one of them above 400. I think it was a little bit. What I think it was Meta. Maybe there was another one that was showing some decent strength. Meta was up, but ended up kind of fizzling out. No, for me, Google and Nvidia, obviously SPY QQ doing all right. So let's see what it goes. So again, tomorrow should be very easy with CPI. We're gonna wake up. We're gonna look at the data. I mean, the data is going to come out. We're not going to look at the data. What are we, the president? It's crazy. No, the data is going to drop, and then we're going to see, is there going to be a massive push like this? Are we going to see a massive push? Is it going to hold, right? Are we going to see it open up here and then just reverse right down for the daily gap? What's going to happen? It's going to be, hopefully we're not going to see too crazy of a move. It just kind of, maybe pushes us up a little bit, holds, and then we open up above breakout, and then we start getting that move. Wishful thinking, I don't know. We'll see if we end up opening up here. If we just get a complete pull down there, then of course, let's just think about whatever happens pre-market. Likely they're just going to retrace that daily gap. I honestly think that if it's something like that, I don't know if we're going to see that continuation. Likely we have not been seeing continuation like that, in this range. It's been all just right back up, right? Any type of gap fill getting filled, pulling back, and on all of that, right? Looking at looking at SpyX here, right? Any type of gap down, it just gets met right back up. It didn't really kind of create a gap today, but this gap ended up, getting filled yesterday, and this kind of coming right back down. So again, any type of gap that's going to, be formed, look for that move first and foremost, right? Now, I don't know, unless they're very aggressive at open with buyers, we're open up above breakout and it gets very aggressive, then you'll be all right to go for it and don't even think about the daily gap, or maybe enter some of your position. If it starts working, there you go, trim, stop, buy, let it ride, whatever. Or you enter and it kind of comes down for a retest and you're not freaking out because you're only some of your position in. You then know that you can be like, all right, my real entry is down here, let's get it, and kind of go from there. That's another way as well. So I would say it's going to be a little bit tricky, but we'll see kind of what they do. Usually, when we run up to kind of a pivotal point like this, if we do get the breakout and we rock it through here, that 617, 618, like it's mine, especially above 613. If we open up above 613, any type of dips, if they give me any, I'm slamming them for that move up to 617, 618. If we open up above 613, if we don't, and we open up maybe under 613, but above 611, that's going to be a little bit tricky. I would have to wait for them to break it out, and it needs to be strong. It needs to be in the first hour, and it needs to, again, be aggressive. Everything needs to be on our side as far as the market and things like that. So I need to be kind of, I guess, just keep an eye on those levels. Just keep an eye on that for that. Everything needs to be on our side as well, right? There's got to be other names that are breaking out as well to really give us that signal of, all right, it's time to go. But just looking at this, like look at this kind of V shape, look at this kind of W shape. Like we're just kind of rounding out here to just rocket through this, like just rocket up. I know we are. So let's see what happens. I mean, look at this nasty, like this, it's pretty predictable, but at the same time, like I'm getting tired of this. Like, let's get that continuation. Let's get a trend day going. Let's get, a good massive, like just move where, you buy at the open and you just let it ride, and kind of just go from there. So let's see what happens here. Let's see what happens, guys. Shout out to you guys showing up. Shout out to the Twitch people. Shout out to the YouTube people. Shout out to the X people. Appreciate y'all showing up. Shout out Karma. Appreciate you, fam. Shout out Jock. Love you guys. Let me know if y'all need anything. Wop.com/real capital. Get my trades. Use code March. I don't know if that code even works right now, or you can try it. It's worth a try. Get my trades, live trading, all that. Sign up. Let me know if y'all need anything. DM me if y'all need anything. I got y'all. And yes, let's see if we can see some more continuation. If not, we're coming right back down in the range. And to be honest, that 600 level will be a magnet for us to come right back down. So that's a $10 move from where we're at downward. Upward, that's, from the 613s, $4 or $5 move. It's the 617, 618, maybe higher if they really get behind it. But we'll see. Again, my golden rule is for SPY, we're not too far from all-time highs, so I'm not going to get super bearish here. I'm going to play it, close to chest and just kind of go from there. So let's see if we can make something happen tomorrow. Stay green out there. We're pretty green on the week, pretty green on the month so far, and we're just going to try and fight our way to it. So let's see what they give us tomorrow. CPI data. Let's see how much they cook it up. I don't know. Anyways, all right. Appreciate y'all showing up, guys. I'll see you guys later. Have a good rest of y'all's night. And of course, I'll see you guys out there. Enjoy.